And I do understand a frustration from residents that have made it known and that they're displeased with the lack of collections and timely collections, and particularly the residents who did not have their garbage cans collected pre-Ida, and that went uncollected for weeks. So we not only acknowledge that, but I also acknowledge the impact that that has had on our people directly and their overall quality of life daily. But with saying that, I want our people to understand as well, I'm just as frustrated. But frustration is only one part of it. It's about doing what it takes to provide solutions to solve the problem. And that's what my team and I have been working on tirelessly, day in and day out, relative to the issues that we are having with the contractors that are responsible for solid waste collections throughout the city of New Orleans. As I mentioned, we know that it was compacted due to Hurricane Ida, no doubt about that. The contractors are now are having to work in terms of the workload 3 to 5 times greater than what we saw pre-hurricane, and with the workforce of about 25%. There's absolutely no magic wand that's going to solve this overnight, and if it were one, I would have waved it already. But the one that I have been waving is that with my team to collectively provide a solution and find a solution to get the trash picked up, the solid waste picked up sooner rather than later. This is not to be confused with debris from Hurricane Ida. Those debris contracts are separate, and they are executed, and they are advancing, meaning the work every single day. The biggest issue, again, is around solid waste. But I also understand, in people's eyes, and even, they see it, hey, trash is trash. But it's very essential at this point that we do recognize the difference. And so solid waste is what we're really focusing on today and every day. Last week, you heard me mention that the city of New Orleans, and based on the issues or challenges that I just described going on with the current contractors, on last week, you heard me announce that the city moved forward with emergency procurement in hopes to increase the capacity on the ground to get, again, solid waste picked up sooner rather than later, getting the trash out of our people's eyes and out of their neighborhoods. Now, based on that procurement, emergency procurement, which ended on Monday at 8:30 p.m., we had one responsive bidder for Zone 1, which has been contracted out, and that contractor is Ramelli. Ramelli stepped up to the plate and added 4 trucks that were on the ground this morning, and that was tied to that emergency procurement. However, there was a Zone 2 that went out with that same emergency procurement. And while we did have a response, what we have not been able to solidify is the respondents' true capacity to come to New Orleans to immediately address the solid waste collections that are on the ground. And what I mean by that is, we know that this contractor has indicated that they have 20 trucks that they can put on the ground. The issue there is not having the manpower, meaning no one to work to drive those trucks to therefore pick up trash. That goes back to the capacity issue that you've also heard me talk about. That's not just here in the city of New Orleans. It is a national, it's a national problem. But our problem is picking up trash as it relates to solid waste. And so what this has required us to do, and as a team, to really again be solutions focused and oriented so that we can pivot on the dime in ways that we can pick up the trash. You'll hear more about that. But I met with my department heads actually prior to this meeting. And so what we will be doing is mobilizing an array of city departments, much like we do to clean up during Mardi Gras. And so Mardi Gras cleanup is not new to us. And because of that, it has provided us at least some foundation to stand on, to collectively as a team and as a city respond to what we know the needs are in our communities, in our neighborhoods that are bringing forth the frustrations in our people. So we will be executing our own, and this is again to build the capacity so we can get this trash picked up and picked up sooner rather than later, and executing it immediately to again provide the capacity to do more. So we're going to ensure, and as we do during Mardi Gras with the multiple departments, it's also collecting and gathering our multiple assets, our equipment from various departments, whether that, it goes from mosquito and termite control board to DPW to sewage and water board. Of course, sanitation, park and parkways, you name it. I'm only mentioning a few. But it's a comprehensive program that we have to put together, and we do for Mardi Gras. We're going to do the same thing to deal with this trash situation in the city to pick up immediately. Now, I have asked the New Orleans Police Department, our chief, to make available to us, and you'll hear more about the crews activated tomorrow, which there will be about 10. Matt will touch on this. But I have asked Superintendent Ferguson to provide 10 of our police officers and vehicles, meaning units, that will follow our 10 crews that will be assigned to various areas throughout the city to begin our own trash collection on tomorrow. Again, this is how we're going to solve this problem immediately, but also be assured that I'm looking at solving this problem for the long haul. But right now, it's about getting the trash picked up in this city and out of neighborhoods and out of people's eyes. I also want to acknowledge, now, Ivy Waste, that's Sidney Torres, Ivy Waste. Now, the Metro contractor had contracted with Ivy Waste even prior to Hurricane Ida. I understand that that operation is still in play. Now, Ivy Waste has provided an additional 7 additional trucks to the Metro contractor. That, of course, is helping build the capacity of the contractor to pick up solid waste throughout the city and in their target zones. But it's still not enough. And it's not enough, which causes us as a city to be very creative and innovative, but also build on some foundational experiences that we do every single year relative to Mardi Gras. I also mentioned the support of our New Orleans Police Department and being behind these crews, because over the past week, there have been some incidents where our own folks, our own residents, have violated, both physically as well as verbally, the men and women on the street picking up the trash. That doesn't help anybody. And so I want to make it very clear, we cannot and will not stand for that as a city. And that is not who we are. But let me tell you who we are. And I got a little blowback blowback from this on yesterday relative to my authorization of opening up our Elysian Fields transfer station. Now, this was something actually I discussed with my team even prior to Ida to kind of work to address the illegal dumping, that we've seen, across our city, period, with no type of weather event. But of course, given this crisis that we're in, I moved forward with activating that site, and at the request of many residents who have reached out, whether it's by call, email, text, saying, hey, can we have an option? And absolutely trying to determine and identify those tools that we can activate in real time to address the problem and provide our people with the option. But that speaks to who we are, asking for what we need, if we have to do it ourselves. And you don't have to, but if you want to, the option is there. And a response to that has been overwhelming, which again speaks to who we are. Neighbors helping neighbors. Even my guy, little Carlos, my little neighborhood. Even activate my little pickup, someone who wants to help the community, because people want to help the community and their neighbors. And guess what? People are. Yesterday, we saw over 200 when we activated it in terms of, vehicles coming, residents bringing trash. They just took it upon themselves to even, again, as I mentioned, like Carlos, being a community leader out there helping people. So I really want to thank those residents who continue to be that example of what it truly means, to be a New Orleanian. And this is not a mandatory at all. It's just, again, another option. Today we saw over 600 vehicles, which again speaks to people asked for an option, they were provided an option, and they're taking advantage of that. And we appreciate that. But right now we're going to remain focused on the immediate, which is collecting and picking up the trash that is in various parts of our city. And again, our residents who have experienced the lack of trash collection for weeks and weeks prior to Hurricane Ida, and only exacerbated because of it. So with that, I'm going to ask Matt Torrey, who is our director of the Department of Sanitation. Sanitation is a department of about 48. We do not do internal in terms of waste collections. We contract that out as a city. Therefore, we're dealing with the contractors, both Metro as well as Richards, and working through these challenges to get trash picked up. And a part of that is mobilizing, again, what we call in our Operation Mardi Gras, based on what we know to get things done. Matt Torrey, come on up, and then you're going to hear from Ramsey Green. And we will go into questions and answers, and we'll just take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everybody. As the Mayor mentioned, the events that have transpired over the past week with the city's emergency procurement, the few responses that we got, and the inability to activate the service contractor yet in Service Area 2 really underscored the resource constraints that we are facing here in New Orleans when it comes to the solid waste industry and nationwide. In addition to our emergency procurements, we reached out to our neighboring parishes, neighboring states to inquire about available capacity that could be potentially lent to New Orleans. We reached out to national solid waste providers to see if they had capacity that could potentially be of assistance to New Orleans. And the common response was, we'd love to help, but we're facing the same challenges that you are in our communities, our towns, our states, and we don't have any capacity to spare. I think this is something that New Orleans was facing pre-Hurricane Ida, and I think Hurricane Ida has only exacerbated the issue that we're facing when it comes to resources that are available, both labor and equipment operators for our solid waste industry. So as the Mayor said, we are residents of New Orleans, we are going to take the steps that we can control to help provide relief to the residents who have been suffering with the solid waste both before and after Hurricane Ida. We did open our Elysian Fields transfer station yesterday. I want to make very clear to everyone. I mean, the opening of the transfer station was done in direct response to people inquiring about whether or not they could take their trash to the landfill, and which would be trash going to the River Birch landfill in Avondale. I don't think any of us would recommend a resident taking trash in a passenger vehicle to River Birch landfill. One, it's not practical. Two, it's a long turnaround time. So I think in response to that, we all agreed collectively that it would be great to open our transfer station. It's centrally located. We found that the time to drop off is pretty quick. I mean, at most, folks are waiting 10 minutes to drop their debris. So it seems like it's been a really good solution, but I want to be clear. I mean, in no way was the city trying to transfer responsibility of handling the solid waste by providing that option. We simply were responding to residents asking us about could they take their debris to the landfill, which we didn't think was a practical solution. So what we did was came up with what we thought was a practical solution. But we, by no means, we're saying that this was in response to the city being either unwilling or unable to pick up the debris and transferring that responsibility of residents to do it on their own. The mayor mentioned Operation Mardi Gras. This will start tomorrow. The Department of Sanitation, along with many other city departments and agencies, Parks and Parkways, Public Works, Mosquito and Termite and Rodent Control, the Sewerage and Water Board, the Orleans Parish Sheriff, the RTA, the airport, as well as others, are actively going to mobilize heavy equipment to traverse down all streets in the city of New Orleans and remove all bags that remain on those streets at this time. So we will have heavy equipment mobilized. We will have laborers there assisting with loading up those bags, and we will be loading those into heavy equipment, either dump trucks or roll-offs via front-end loaders, and transporting that to the landfill. We will go down every street in the city, and we will remove every single bag on the street, whether it's vegetative debris in the bag or household garbage. I mean, it's obviously we're not going to open bags as we're going down the street, but every bag that is there will be removed as part of this operation. It'll start tomorrow. We expect to have approximately 10 crews on the ground working primarily in Service Area 2, where we received the most feedback with regards to latent trash collection as well as bags still remaining outside of trash carts. There are approximately 52 subzones in Service Area 2, which we will break and allocate across our 10 crews. And we will expeditiously work through that zone and pick up those bags. We will create an online dashboard similar to what we have for our debris removal effort that's currently underway for the city, so residents can see which subzone we have worked in and cleared bags in. And once we've completed a pass of every street in New Orleans, if we find that more bags have appeared based on the ramp up of solid waste collection via garbage trucks that we're seeing, we'll make another pass. And we'll continue to make passes until the bags are gone. I think our City of New Orleans operational resources and team members have been on the ground since the day after the hurricane. We've been working 12 to 18-hour days to respond to Hurricane Ida, removing debris from the public right-of-way so that public safety crews, ambulances, entity crews could get to where they needed to so that the city could recover, so that people could get the core services that they needed, and so that the power could be restored here in New Orleans. They've remained working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day since that first day after Hurricane Ida, removing debris from the public right-of-way. And this is just another example of those teams taking up the mission of the city and taking what we need to do to provide for the residents of New Orleans. So we're going to activate tomorrow morning. Those 10 crews will be out. You'll see them on the streets removing bags from streets. And we look forward to getting through all neighborhoods as promptly as possible.
Thank you, Matt. Ramsey?
Thank you, Mayor. Really, the only thing I would add is our city employees, our partner agencies, we recognize that this is an unusual, unfortunate circumstance of a confluence of many crises that are happening right now. This is a product of something we know in this city, which is cleaning up after Mardi Gras. We've gotten pretty good at that. And so we're applying that operational capability to Service Area 2, which is the metro service area, focused on non-trash cans, the stuff that is on the sides of the trash cans. The debris contractor is going well. You can track their progress on NOLA Ready. There's a link with a GIS overlay. We will have a GIS overlay for these 10 crews that start tomorrow. So there will be no question in a resident's mind when or if their home was serviced. This is a temporary solution while we come to a more permanent solution. We acknowledge we're doing this not out of a choice, out of necessity. And we will come to a permanent solution, and we are continuing to work on that. These men and women who are doing this tomorrow morning, who have been endlessly working since before Hurricane Ida or shortly thereafter, they, in my view, they're heroic. It's an honor to work alongside them, and they are doing this work to keep our city safe. The one thing I would really ask of our residents is there are going to be a lot of people out on the streets tomorrow. Be safe. Drive safely around them, avoid them as much as possible. If you're coming out of your driveway and you look to your left and you see a little sanitation parade going down the street, we are going to have people walking along with this, laborers who are going to have shovels and rakes, just like you see after a Mardi Gras parade, alongside heavy equipment. Go the other way. Turn right out of your driveway. Don't turn left. Just look out for the men and women who are out there, and we're going to get this problem solved. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramsey. And I did want you to know that I have and discussed with my CAO, ways in which we are looking at a potential credit, particularly to those residents who did not have trash collection for weeks and weeks, prior to Hurricane Ida, and of course have been impacted post-Hurricane Ida. So we will be working through that. More information, of course, will be provided to you when that has been worked out. And of course, you know that is another partner agency that we would have to be working with as it relates to a potential credit to, again, those customers that really went without trash collections for weeks. We just feel that it's the right thing to do. So with that, Colin Arnold, who is our Director of Homeland Security, a lot of this will fall under his umbrella. Still, we're recovering from Hurricane Ida, but just the management of it, oversight, making sure, again, that all things are working for the good and on the ground. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. If there's nothing else to add at this time, we catch it all in Q&A. But Ms. Allison?
Mr. Nelson?
Yes, this was a problem in the beginning of coronavirus. Now it's a problem again. Is there a possible solution where we raise wages for the hoppers and drivers that we seem to can't hire right now?
Sure. Well, it's not us. It's not the city of New Orleans. It is the contractors themselves that are tied to, within their contract, the livable wage that the city of New Orleans embedded in those contracts in 2017 when they were executed. So the issue of increased wages, absolutely, I'm for that, and even pushing towards that $15 an hour. That is something that the contractors at this time will have to deal with and absolutely should be looking at. But one of the things that could be a problem as it relates to the capacity.
Ben Myers?
The existing contracts with both of the primary contractors contain clauses for recovering damages for unsatisfactory performance and also a pretty broad termination clause. Has there been any consideration given to exercising those options?
Yes, there has been consideration to exercising those options. The bottom line is that it's pretty clear that the city of New Orleans, we do have grounds, no doubt about it. And so when we think about solving this problem for the long term, it will go towards potential, and where I'm at is a rebid. We'll get to that, but that is absolutely on the table. I think that we have to put it out, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get the responses or even different responses, but you don't know. But it is absolutely worthy of putting that out. And so we will work through the contractual obligations, of course, with our law department, and that is something that we're working through right now, but it is absolutely on the table. As it relates to liquidated damages, and I'm going to tell you on the front end of that and even on the back end of that, because consideration was given there as well. We need our trash picked up. So if we're going to, and hey, you do the fine and they pay the city, I would really rather them go pay and execute that subcontract with Ivy Waste to get more trucks to pick up the trash. And so that's just kind of where we are. I want the trash picked up. I'm looking at a solution to the problem on the ground first. But that doesn't rule out anything else. But the priority right now is getting the trash picked up and picked up consistently. And a fine will not do that. But if those dollars could be redirected, which that's been demonstrated, to build the capacity to pick up the garbage.
So we'll hear more about a potential rebid.
Oh, you're going to hear. You're going to hear. No doubt about it. And because it is, no doubt about it. And it's just what we, as a city, we have to do. But at the same time, we just have to level set because of the industry, the solid waste industry. You don't know who's going to respond. But hey, put it out and let's see. And then also when you think about, a rebid, it allows us, and it's really my administration, because see, this was executed prior to me. This was 2017 for 7 years, even going through a whole full term. As mayor. So it will give my administration an opportunity to really advance some of the practices that we would like to see based on what we've learned on the ground. So assessing this, assessing what we know can work or should work, building in what we believe can mitigate future problems. That's exactly where I am. And that's what will happen, no doubt about it.
Jay O'Connor, Channel 6.
All right, so how long will we know, or how long do you think it'll take before we know if the contractor being considered for Zone 2 is completely on board and staffed up? And then also just how long will Romelli and this other contractor help? Like, is this more so like a long-term?
Well, this is and was a response to the emergency procurement to add capacity to pick up solid waste. And so Romelli is tied to that. So as long, it's to make sure we complete the mission, getting trash picked up. As it relates to, and your first question, how long will it, as soon as we know, you will know. I'm waiting now because I know that there are 20 trucks available for the bidder of Zone 2, but we're waiting for them to identify the driver capacity to even get those trucks to the city of New Orleans. And I'm even thinking, hey, we need some CDL and some garbage, because it's a licensing piece. It's not just anybody who can drive a garbage truck. But we're looking at that as well, and I know that the contractor will absolutely be hiring up. But right now, we are working with that contractor prior to see if they can accommodate us. So I'm not ruling them out You know, I'm not moving them to the side as a non-responsive bidder at this time, because I want to give it time to work. If they can get those drivers that will then provide the added capacity with the 20 trucks, that's what we want. Oh, Operation Mardi Gras will start at, is it 7 a.m.? 7 a.m.?
Between 7 and 8
Yeah, 7 a.m. We will be mobilizing, and as Ramsey said, just look out for our people. But this is going to be our way, as a city, to solve this problem, and it is for the short term, while we also focus on that long-term plan to just mitigate issues with trash collection in our city once and for all.
One more question. I've just been seeing a lot on social media that a lot of people from New Orleans are kind of taking matters into their own hands, asking people, do you want us to pick up your trash? Will they have the opportunity to be able to help with this operation?
So right now, that seems to be on a voluntary or in a voluntary capacity. And so one of the things that we do well with in the city of New Orleans is kind of responding to the real needs on the ground and providing solutions. And I mean, from the public, residents coming together. Remember, after Katrina, we had crew, the Katrina crew, picking up trash and helping us do that. I'm kind of seeing that same type of spirit in dealing with and addressing the solid waste issue that we're having. So yes, I will say there is an opportunity for that. I have asked my team to work on standing up that as well, but right now it's organic, meaning it's happening organically within communities amongst neighbors. And so it is absolutely my hope to be able to stand something up with cities, support, whether that's bags and gloves and so it's kind of feeding into my clean up NOLA sooner rather than later.
One more question, I promise. Is it possible to cancel the current contracts with these other contractors that are short-staffed right now?
So the issue really with that is who's gonna pick up the trash? Like really? It sounds good, right? But it doesn't solve the problem. Right now, we are in problem-solving mode. Short term, but also that long term, so that we, meaning our residents, are not faced with inadequate services. Hold a little longer, have a little bit more patience. And I'm asking for that. But we're doing everything possible and within our power to solve this problem.
Last question from Fox 8 Mayor.
Yes. How you doing?
Who's in zone 1, when can they expect to be picked up? Who's in zone 2, when can they expect to be picked up?
Right, so I'll let Matt kind of give you the zones. I know the neighborhoods, but I don't know them all. Anyway, I don't want to mess it up. We got dealing with already trying to clean this up. Okay, go ahead.
So for the city solid waste collection, Zone 1 is the zone currently collected by Richards Disposal. We generally refer to that as south of I-10. That's very general, but it's really, the Uptown, Carrollton neighborhoods through Central City and into Algiers. Broadmoor as well. And then we talk about Service Area 2, which is, north of I-10, Lakeview, through Gentilly, the Lower 9, New Orleans East, Marigny, Bywater, and so on. Operation Mardi Gras is focused to start in Zone 2. Zone 1 has come along nicely since Hurricane Ida as far as debris collection, bags being removed by Richards Disposal in that service area. There's a far greater need in Service Area 2 for what we're proposing for this Operation Mardi Gras. And that's where our focus is going to be. By no means will that stop us from going into Service Area 1, but the immediate need is in Service Area 2.
Where's this parade start?
And we have 10 crews. It'll be all spread out across Service Area 2, and we'll be working through daily on each of them. So you'll see them in just about every part of Service Area 2 tomorrow. We did have one start today in the Florida neighborhood, correct, for a sanitation crew.
Just some basic stuff. So 10 crews, can you say how many people per crew?
Sure. So each crew generally will be comprised of a front-end loader, 2 to 3 dump trucks or roll-off trucks, and 2 to 3 laborers. So
And these are all city personnel?
These are, all well, no, we will have contract labor with us as well. We've engaged our supplemental equipment operator that works with us during Mardi Gras, MDL Enterprises, and they're stood up 5 crews that are going to be out there with us as well tomorrow, assisting us. So we brought in not only our city crews, but also the contractor that helps us with Mardi Gras.
Matt, Channel 4.
Mayor, this question for you. There's a video making around on social media.
Are we finished with trash?
You with a heated confrontation.
Are we finished with, wait a minute, you know how I do. You know how I do. I like to deal with what the issue is on the front end, and if we're finished with questions relative to the topic of trash, and if we are, we're good, so you can finish.
There is a video making the rounds on social media of you and a heated confrontation with the gentleman at a restaurant. Do you care to comment on what that was about?
Well, what I will say, first of all, I haven't seen the video, so I don't know what part of it, but I was there. And very disrespected. I'm so glad my child wasn't with me, but I'm not going to repeat. I'm not going to repeat it. But it was a man who disrespected. And I spoke up for myself, as I was raised to do. And so with that, that's really it. But I haven't seen the video. But hopefully the video says exactly that, because it is what it is.
That concludes the press conference.
Thank you so much. All right. Matt will get you straight.
It's a mix. No, you have city resources bringing our leases up, and you do have contracts.
So there was the one responsive to the.
Oh,
No, I was just confused.